So I'll continue letting folks in, but good afternoon and thank you to all of you for coming and being a part of this quick session on supporting your students through the course selection process and hearing a little bit more from the guidance department. And we will be recording this, so if you're watching it after the fact, again, thanks for your investment here. My name is Matt Fox. I'm the Director of Guidance here at TCS, and I'm here with Mr. Bailey, who will help me kind of run through just some considerations for the grade 9 to 10 course selection and programming. So I'm going to turn things over to Ty right away, and Ty, you tell me when you want me to advance the slides.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Fox. Yeah, I just want to move forward one. Okay, so yeah, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. As Matt said, we'll be going through just an overview of the sort of the nuts and bolts and next steps in the course selection process, and then have some time for question and answers. And at the end of this presentation, if you generated more questions after the fact, please reach out to your child's counselor. We're here to help you navigate the process. And yeah, so at any time, just give us a shout, send us an email, and we can set up a time to chat, and happy to answer any questions. So if your child is in just an overview of our guidance department, if your child's in Bickle, Brent, or Rigby, their counselor is Mr. Keith Brooks. Myself, I'm the counselor for all of Bethune, Burns, and Orchard. Mr. Fox, who started things off today, our director, is also the counselor for Hodgetts and Ketchum House. And Mrs. Lisa Elson is the counselor for any students in Scott and Wright. And we've at the bottom, you can see our guidance assistant is Mrs. Tanya Skiok. So this is our guidance department. Next slide, please. So when choosing courses, granted grade 9 into grade 10, there's not a whole lot of choice in terms of the fact that out of 7 or 8 courses, 5 of them are mandated through the Ministry of Education as compulsory courses. An additional 2 out of those 8 are the additional language and arts, which are part of the TCS academic requirements, and then a final elective. But aside from, like, as I noted, it's not a ton of selection from this grade into grade 10. But it's really important at all steps, whether in grade 9 or grade 11 going into grade 12, is to really look at when you're talking to your child, like especially in terms of elective courses, what are you curious about? What do you love to learn about? Don't get hung up on what kind of career or what job's just going to make me the most money, but really, what courses, like in your week, I can't wait to go to science class, or I can't wait to go to math. I love it. Or, I'm really interested in geo or phys ed and et cetera, is to really tap into what is it that you're interested in. What kind of person do you want to be? Really looking at, and this is a great Venn diagram. I won't get into detail here, but really outlines, helps define what purpose is. And that's so important at any age level, is to approach the courses and your selection and your decision making based on that, in terms of where do I want to go, what do I want to be, what am I good at, and what do I love to do. Okay, so I sort of want to preface things with that as we move on to the next slide. So at this point in time, your child will have had a presentation by one of the counselors in their English class, the grade 9 English class. So they've got a paper course selection, a copy of all the courses offered that you'll have access to as well. So at this stage, as you can see from the timeline, there's a Google form that's going to be released on Friday, February 23rd. And the actual Google form must be completed by Friday, March 1st. And that's how students will be submitting their course selections. Of important note here is that we have, for the first time ever, I'm very excited about this, we will be having a course fair here in the Cerny Commons on Friday, February 23rd, at which you'll have representatives, teachers from all the departments in the school at a station ready to answer specific questions students may have about content, format, rigor, the expectations of a course next year that they're considering taking. And this is great because you'll have the teacher there. They live it. This is their course. They know it inside and out. And they can really give honest feedback and clear feedback and honest reflection in terms of suitability for students. In terms, does it appeal to them? Is that an area of interest, et cetera, moving forward? So again, at this stage, especially after this afternoon's presentation, is to have that dinner table talk, as I like to refer to it as, or FaceTime talk, in terms of what are you looking at for your electives. And you'll see within the courses, as I mentioned, there's not a ton of selection. There are options within different subject areas as well that you can consider when speaking with your child. And again, through that process in coming weeks, if you get stumped or you want to know more, like, there's no explanation on this, or what happens if you take this course, where does that lead you? Please reach out. Never suffer in silence. We're here to help you through each step of the process. Next slide. Okay, so the OSSD requirements. OSSD stands for Ontario Secondary School Requirements. You can see you need 30 credits in the province of Ontario to graduate, and 18 of them are compulsory as determined by the Ministry of Education and the Ontario curriculum. So when we look at these 18, 4 credits in English. So I always say to the students when I do the presentations, whether you like English or not, you have to take it in order to graduate. And year 4 English, we call it ENG4U, is a prerequisite for 99% of all programs coast to coast in Canada and elsewhere, out of country requirements. So that's a pivotal piece. 3 credits in math. So obviously your child, most of which of whom would be in grade 9 math right now. You'd have grade 10 next year. And then some students take the 3rd math credit in grade 11, and then there's no turning back. For example, if math is an area of struggle, or if math is not in the cards in terms of what they want to study at the next level, for example, fine arts or philosophy, a variety of humanities, etc. Now, with that said, most students do tend to take more than the required 3 math, because if they're looking at science down the road, business programs, engineering, they all require additional 4U level, 4U being the 4th year of high school, 4U math credits. So moving forward, we need 2 credits in science, 1 credit in Canadian history, the Canadian geography, which the students are in right now, 1 credit in the arts. And there's one caveat to that, is that TCS academic requirements ask for 2 arts, which I'll get into a little bit more detail in coming slides. 1 credit in HPE, 1 credit in French as a second language. And our students have the ability, or the option, I should say, to substitute Latin or Spanish in place of French to meet that requirement, because we have those course program offerings at TCS. And then a 1/2 credit in civics and a 1/2 credit in careers. Now, in addition to these 18, we also have what are referred to as Group 1, Group 2, and Group 3 requirements. Now, if we look here, when I said Trinity has the additional requirement of an additional arts and an additional language. In doing so, by taking that second language course, we meet automatically by default the Group 1 requirement. Likewise, when you get that second arts credit, we're meeting the requirements for Group 2. And then I'll get into in a coming slide the additional credit in science or technology. That's sort of built in the TCS requirements, as all students are required to take the, actually, just jump ahead one more slide here for a moment, and then we can double back. In terms of that 3rd science or technology, sort of built into our requirements, and that students in grade 9 take the grade 10 technology and innovations course, and some of your children might be in that AP stream of the tech and innovations credit right now. In addition to the language and the arts credit that I noted a minute ago, students require a senior social science credit, and that also ties into meeting the Group 1, 2, and 3 requirements. So we'll just go back one, Mr. Fox, please. So yeah, in addition to the course requirements, in order to earn your OSSD, students also have to have completed 40 hours of community service, which can be accumulated or earned anytime from the beginning of grade 9 to the end of grade 12. And at Trinity, most graduates have in excess of 40 by far, because our fantastic service learning office provides students with an abundance of different opportunities to get involved and really emphasize and underscore the importance of service and giving back. And that I see every time I talk to alumni, regardless of where they're at in life, age, they always say, coming out of Trinity, one of the things that was really the school instilled in them was the importance of giving back and service, which is great to see. Further to this, the Ontario literacy test. I believe the grade 10s already wrote it a while back. And again, to walk across the stage on grad day to get your Ontario secondary school diploma, everyone must have passed that. So if a student does not pass that in the first attempt in grade 10, they would write it again in grade 11. If they weren't successful in grade 11, then there'd be sort of a built-in course, if you will, provided by the English department to help students get to the finish line in terms of meeting that expectation and that requirement. Okay, so we'll just bump ahead to. So going back to when earlier I said, 5 out of the 8, those compulsory courses are being dictated in terms of here's what you must take as compulsory credits. As I said, there is a little bit of wiggle room. So there is a few options within each subject area. So in terms of English, so again, when you look at the notation, any course with a 2 means it's second year of high school. If it's a 3, it's a third year, and obviously fourth year courses have a 4 in it. So English 2D, and they also have an option of English 2D T, which is travel option, which I'll talk about in greater detail in a moment. In math, we've got the academic stream as well as grade 10 applied math. History, you can have CHC 2D, grade 10 history, or the travel option, which thematically combines, again, more info in a second, with the English program. Grade 10 science, careers and civics semestered. And then next, moving on, we've got the language of which students can have a variety of options to choose from. It doesn't have to be the same language course they took in grade 9. However, if they are, I know it's very early days, but down the road of going to school in the US as an option, that is something that would need to be discussed this year, and that it should be the same language moving forward to the highest level the school offers. TCS arts credit, again, it can be the same arts they took this year, the same subject area, or it could be a different one. So sometimes I have students, I took drama this year in grade 9, it was great, but I really am interested in visual arts as well. Can I take that? Absolutely. Now, in addition to the 5 compulsory, the 2 TCS requirements with the language and the art, you also have 1 additional elective, which can be anything, provided you have the prerequisite for it. And finally, if you're doing the travel component, that opens up an additional space, which I'll talk about in a second here. Okay, so next slide. So here we are. So English 2D or English 2D with the travel option. What's the difference? Well, there is a price tag of $8,400 to take the travel option, which includes, I believe it's like a 10 or 11 day, I think it might be 10 days in Europe. And it's fantastic. I have 3 daughters. They've all gone through Trinity. And I know for my oldest daughter, my middle daughter, it got canceled, the travel program due to COVID. But my oldest daughter's in 3rd year university, and she still talks about the experience when they travel to Europe. Being at the monument at Vimy Ridge as Mr. Ingram teaches the history lesson about the Battle of Vimy Ridge, being on the beaches of Dieppe, being in Normandy and learning there on the spot is just fantastic, and it makes memories of a lifetime for the kids. So again, the English and the history are aligned thematically. So as they're studying World War I in history, the English component would be doing a novel study. In the past, they've done 3-day road, which again aligns nicely with that topic. And as they go through the course, it's just a fantastic option for students to have that combined. Now, with the English and the history, they're in the same classroom at the same time with team teaching with Miss Barb Bruff and Mr. Dave Ingram. Because they won't have history in the classroom every other day, that opens up that additional block of time in their schedule. So some students will opt to have a supervised study period so that they have a little more balance in the day and some time to actually dig in and do homework in other subject areas, while other students will opt to fill that empty block in their schedule with a ninth course, such that they would finish grade 10 one ahead and have one additional credit in their back pocket, which can then provide some greater flexibility, if you will, in either grade 11 or 12 to reduce the course load by one and have a supervised study at that point, when the rigor really starts to ramp up into the senior grades. Okay. So yeah, Mr. Ingram or Miss Bruff, again, they've been running this program for about 20 years now with great success, and they can answer any questions that you might have. So the official registration process opens up in April. So on the course selection forms, if this is something that your child's interested in and you've had a family discussion around this, you would indicate as such. And then our travel office, Ms. Sherry Gardner, will be reaching out when the time comes to start moving on steps in registration. I should note that when they do open registration, if someone late in the game decides, oh, I've changed my mind, I want to do travel now, the spots get scooped up very quickly. And sometimes it's within 48 hours, it's like we're full. And it's grown. Like, 20 years ago, they had one section of kids traveling. Now there's three with, upwards of 50 students involved. Like I said, it's really caught on. It's been a great success. All right, next slide.
And sorry, Mr. Bailey, I'm just going to add that I dropped in the chat the travel letter that Mr. Ingram writes for parents just to gain more information. But yeah, definitely worth having that conversation at home and maybe finding a summer job for your young charges so that they can help offset some of that cost.
Yeah. So math, as I've noted, you've got the academic and applied streams. In terms of placement, if you're questioning, would my child be best suited for applied, that is the discussion to have with the math teacher directly, because they can comment very more specifically, obviously, on strengths, areas of challenge, and suitability in terms of course placement. The career studies in civics, again, a semester, different teachers, same group of students. Halfway through the year, they move classrooms. And yeah, next, moving forward, what have we got? Science, pretty straightforward, one option. And then the history, likewise, similar to the English, you've got the travel option. Okay, next slide. All right, so as noted, about the second language credit, I've mentioned you can continue with the same language, or the students can continue with the same language that they've done this year, or they can change direction and try something different. Again, if you're looking at US schools, and we've got the point here, they like to see progression. It's not always a game changer, but when they're really trying to differentiate in a very tight applicant pool, some very top tier selective schools will dip into that and look, well, do they have a senior foreign language? So to cover all bases, if you think your child might be applying to the US down the road, that is definitely something to talk about. Again, to reach out to the counselor if you've got questions around that as well. Some options, we've got the French stream, Latin, Spanish, English as a second language. Again, if that's something you're considering, definitely reach out, talk to the counselor in terms of to see if that is the ideal fit. And then there's the online stream for Mandarin. Okay, next slide. The arts, likewise, second credit is required. They can shift gears and try something new next year, or continue with where the arts they were in this year. So we've got the instrumental music. So anyone taking music this year would be the intro. It leads to intermediate music next year. Intro guitar goes to grade 11 guitar. And then visual arts, we've got the intro, intermediate, and also ASM is media art. So they get more into the graphic design aspect. And then likewise, the intro drama leads to intermediate drama as well. So lots of exciting options out there for your child in both the languages and the arts. So next slide. And I believe I'll turn things over to Mr. Fox.
Sure. Thanks, Ty. So as you saw, there is room for at least one elective for your child to choose next year. And then depending on if they choose the travel option, there could be a second, or if your child has taken summer school in the past, there might be room for more elective options. So I know it's kind of small, but I've listed as many of the electives as I can there. So students could take more arts or more languages. There's 3 options for phys ed there, and thank you, somebody brought that up in the chat. What are the phys ed options? So There's the first one that you see there, healthy active living, that's more of a group activity phys ed. The second one that's called personal and fitness activities, that would be more of an individual phys ed. And then there is an outdoor activities. So just note that, especially with these electives, students can take a grade 11 course so long as they have the prerequisite for that course. And all of the grade 11 courses that are listed on this elective page, your child would have the prerequisite for. So that's why they're listed there. If your child has taken a course that makes them eligible for another grade 11 course, that information is all available on the website, and I'll make sure I link in the list to all the courses that we offer. But yeah, your child could be looking at the grade 11 course form to see what other electives are available for them. And that's always easy conversations to have with the guidance department. So I put, again, I'm not anticipating you can read this little red form that I put at the bottom here, but that is a form that your child should have, and you are encouraged to ask to see it. And that should help with their planning of their course selections. So there's some options there. A few things then to just finally consider, and then we're going to hopefully have this wrapped up by 5 p.m. so that we can open the floor to questions. One would be the social sciences, in particular the grade 12 social sciences, have this prerequisite that's asking students to have taken a grade 11 social science beforehand. So basically that's just saying we want to make sure that you're ready for this level of reading and writing that comes at that level. Now at TCS, many students take a grade 12 course in grade 11. So if your child wants to be thinking about taking one of our many grade 12 social sciences in grade 11, then they need to download a grade 11 social science into grade 10. So I hope that kind of makes sense. If they're trying to get ahead in grade 11, they kind of got to get ahead in grade 10. So an easy way to do that, like one that they would already have the prerequisites for, would be taking one of these two courses. So CGF is a grade 11 geography course. It's called natural disasters. So it's kind of like weather patterns and that sort of thing. Or HRT is another social science course, and that's our world religions course. Okay, so if students were to take that in grade 10, they remain then eligible to take a whole host of grade 12 social science courses in their grade 11 year. Another option to get them ahead for that grade 11 would be to take a grade 11 social science or grade 11 English next summer. But again, the one that's relevant to right now is if your child is super into those social science courses and is thinking about reaching ahead, a good way to do that would be to enroll in one of our grade 11 social sciences in their grade 10 year. Speaking about other options to get ahead then, so summer school is one of those. And when it comes to summer school, for me, when I was a student in my office, it's never the first thing I'm encouraging a student to do in the summer. So I'm not downplaying the value added in a summer school program, especially in terms of getting ahead or finding extra space, maybe for a study period in a student's schedule. Those are certainly good reasons to take summer school, but also there is good reason to follow the lead of your child and see what they really need. Rest and recharge is a really good thing after a busy year at TCS. Getting a part-time job is a really good experience that we can't simulate here on campus. And so if summer affords that opportunity to get a part-time job, I think that that's fantastic. Just finding other opportunities to explore things that they're naturally curious about outside of the academic world, and supporting your child to do that, whether that's looking at an interesting club or taking a course online that's not attached to any specific, course expectation at TCS, but just something that's following their natural interest or curiosity. All really good options. So the one here is specifically about Summer Academy. TCS, I've worked Summer Academy before. I know firsthand that TCS does offer a really robust summer school program. And you can see that it comes with a cost. It is usually between 30 to 90 minutes of synchronous time. So time that the student is expected to kind of like be in class. And then the remainder of that day would be asynchronous, where your child is moving through content kind of on their own. And you can see the dates there. Course options then for students who will be entering grade 10 are history, civics, and careers. And actually, I should be adding here, we're adding a new course to our summer school this year called gender studies. So it's a grade 11 social science, but it has no prerequisite. So that would actually be yet another option for your child if they wanted to do TCS Summer Academy. As noted at the bottom there are a variety of other options and some really neat ones that involve traveling the world, or perhaps that are free that you can take at your local public high school. Those are all great options also for your child to get the Ontario credit. I would just please ask that your child work and talk with their guidance counselor to share what their plans are. If that course isn't completed, or if we haven't received proof from the institution that that course was completed, we actually don't have an option but to enroll them in that course or an extra course when they get here in September. And there are some summer programs that are notoriously challenging for us to work with in order to get that evidence. So please, all I'm asking is that you're not limited to the TCS academic program at all. And if your child does want to do summer school outside of that program, that they just keep the lines of communication as clear as or as open as possible with their guidance counselor so that we can continue to support that process. I think we're nearing the end of the presentation, and I just think it's really important for students to and teachers and guidance counselors and parents to make sure that we're all kind of operating in the same frame for our students and your children in terms of setting them up for the best success. So I think Mr. Bailey at the start kind of, started about not having specific conversations about what specific career you're going to go into the future. We really want students to remain flexible and open at this point of their high school career, and to be willing and interested in trying new things. Maybe they'll find a newfound passion, or maybe they'll develop a new skill in being challenged in a different area. So we're really just hoping that students remain flexible, continue to develop that growth mindset that we're hoping students at TCS walk away from our program with, and yeah, continue to challenge and build themselves. This last bullet, is one that we often talk about for students who are pursuing post-secondary in the US, but I think it is also about probably why you've chosen to send your child to TCS. We do have a variety of opportunities available for your students, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And again, I would just be constantly asking your child, how are you making the most of these opportunities that are available to you? And thinking about that overall growth and improvement that we're looking for. So these are the next steps. I'm going to pop that link again into the chat just so that you can browse our courses, and the ones that are available at grade 11 and 12 levels, hoping that you're chatting with your children about what their interests are and how we can continue to support them. Encouraging them to attend that course fair next Friday and asking the experts what their courses are all about and why a student might take them. Encouraging them to get their course selections in by the deadline. That's our best chance at building a schedule that is in your children's best interest. And just a shameless plug here that we've tried something new this year. We're putting in a monthly newsletter the first Thursday of each month into the normal newsletter that goes out. And we're trying to stock it full of information. Most of it, honestly, is geared towards grades 11 and 12. But if you happen to find that spare time, feel free to read it, and it might just get you and your family thinking ahead a little bit. So just as a reminder, these are the counselor assignments for the remainder of the year, and you're free to reach out to your child's counselor at any time to ask questions or maybe set up a meeting. But in the meantime, since we're all here, if anybody wants to unmute, Mr. Bailey and I are more than happy to field some questions.
Nothing. No good.
Sorry, Kevin, did you have a question?
No.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, Nick, I see your hand up there.
Yeah. Is there an app that we could be using online to sort of track this or forecast, going forward as to what, they could potentially be taking in grade 11 and 12 and sort of backtrack into the grade 10 selections? I know there's not much selections, right? But in grade 10, but is there an app that we can be?
There's no app, but when your child meets with their counselor, like for example, whether it's a grade 10 student or grade 9, because again, 9 into 10 is pretty well scripted, as we presented, but 10 into 11, I sit and I map out 11 and 12 with students. And then with time, parents are involved with that and, sort of look at that national progression based on ballpark of interest as those grade 10s, begin to decide, do I want to gravitate towards the math and science or vice versa and really focus on fine arts and humanities, languages, etc. So it's always good to project into grade 12 what that would look like. And then we have that in our notes for discussion. And then, like I said, we bring the parents into that as well as we move forward.
And that English course in grade 12, the Oxford one, is that always offered every year or no?
The Cambridge?
Yeah, the Cambridge, I think.
Yeah, it for about the last 20 years or so, with different teachers along the way, but primarily with Mrs. Dew. They've had that give or take a couple of years, and then obviously COVID and I was out, but they've got back to it last year, and then it's running again this year. So it's been very consistent. Yeah, it's been a really popular draw, again, just for that life experience as well.
And do kids typically take that in anticipation of the grade 12, or can they also take it in the summer of their grade 12 before they go to university?
No, you have to have completed all your credits upon graduation, because universities or colleges will look at on their conditional offers of admission that you've met conditions, and one of which is going to be having completed English 4U and based on the university or college and the program specified, they'll have a condition on that in terms of whether it's 80 or 75 or an 85%. So you have to have, the graduation requirements in order to get the successful completion of OSSD before you can step foot on that post-secondary campus. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Does the 8,400 cover both English and history travel to Ottawa? And I saw the email, Poland, Belgium, France.
Yes.
That's for the whole thing. Okay.
The whole thing, yeah.
Okay, not each. I just
No.
wasn't sure. Okay,
it's all part of the comprehensive program.
I see. Okay. So if you pick travel for one, you have to pick it for the other, obviously.
Travel is the program is the English.
And
history
history. Okay, got it.
Like I said, thematically aligned and team taught. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, sorry, I came in late. The bus was delayed, so I just came in as you were wrapping up the travel portion. Where can I go to read back on what I missed?
So Matt, in terms of
Yeah,
you covered the English. Yes.
So I
missed the entire.
He sent a link. He sent a link about the travel early in the chat.
Yeah, and I just posted it again there for you. That's probably the best information. It's coming right from the teachers in terms of what is all involved in that course. I just quickly changed the slide here so that you can see the difference of the breakdown. But that link is a letter from the teachers that kind of outline what the course is all about.
Okay, so I can find the link here on the chat.
Yeah, it's that very
all
last
the info.
slide.
Okay. Sorry, the bus was delayed, so I missed all of this.
No, it's all good. I'm sorry. And
Right.
I did record this, so I'll get it posted as well.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thanks.
Again, I just while everybody kind of thinks about if they have any other questions, I do just want to again state again how thankful we are that you're on this call. It's really important to us that in our roles we understand that the conversations we're having with your children are can be really anxiety producing for your child, maybe can be nerve-wracking for you as well. We recognize that they're hopefully having similar conversations with you at home. And so we really see kind of like that triangle of us and your child and you. Is really important for us all to be on open communication with each other as we work to support your children. So again, just thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for continuing to support your children. And if there's no other questions, then
I have just one more, sorry.
Yeah,
Looking at
of course.
the other link that someone put with the course options, what's the difference between if my daughter's doing French right now in year 9, core French and core French enriched? Like, this is how I never know what to pick between too many options.
Yeah, the core French enriched is just to the next level, and it's often students who have very strong French background. For example, if they went to school in Ontario and did French immersion at a previous
Okay.
school, they'll be best prepared for that more advanced pathway. Or if they come, their home is in a country where French is the first language and so forth. So if they're strong and they have a lot of experience in that subject area, or again, students coming from Quebec and so forth,
I see.
as an example. But if you just studied core French in your elementary school, then it would be just the core French would be recommended. Unless the
Yes.
teacher gave a recommendation saying like you were a
Yes.
superstar in grade 9 core, you should do enriched. So again, that advice or feedback would come directly from the classroom teacher.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, well, that's great. I'm going to stop sharing and stop the recording. And if you have any other questions, feel free to stay on. I know we've got another 7 minutes here. Otherwise, I just want to wish you all a wonderful family day-long weekend.
Yes. All right. Thanks, everybody. And yeah, enjoy your weekend.